The shadow of the dreadnought. The galaxy had learned to fear the name Crimson Dreadnought. For 3 months, the massive warship had carved a path of destruction through civilized space, leaving nothing but debris and broken dreams in its wake. The ship stretched nearly 5 kilometers from bow to stern, its hull painted the color of dried blood and bristling with weapons that could reduce planets to ash. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the ESS Prometheus, watching the latest intelligence reports scroll across her display. The experimental Earth vessel was humanity's most advanced warship, though it looked like a child's toy compared to the monster they were about to face. Sarah had short black hair and eyes that missed nothing, traits that had made her one of Earth's youngest fleet commanders at 35. Status report, she called to her bridge crew. Captain Marcus Torres, her tactical officer, turned from his station. He was a big man with careful hands and a mind that thought 3 moves ahead of any enemy. All systems green, Commander. Quantum torpedoes loaded, adaptive shields at full power. The crew is ready. Dr. Elena Vasquez looked up from her science station, pushing her glasses up her nose. She was brilliant but worried, having spent the last year perfecting the experimental technology that might give them a chance against the dreadnought. The quantum disruption array is online, but Sarah, we've never tested it against anything this large. The theoretical calculations are solid, but theory and reality don't always match. Sarah nodded. She understood the risk. The Prometheus carried weapons that existed nowhere else in the galaxy, technology that pushed the boundaries of known physics. But they were about to face something that had already destroyed 6 Alliance fleets. The communication system chimed, and a new voice filled the bridge. ESS Prometheus, this is Admiral Kesvorian of the Alliance 7th Fleet. We are grateful for your assistance, though I confess surprise at your arrival. Sarah had studied the Alliance military structure during her journey to this sector. Admiral Vorian commanded the Tethys species, tall blue-skinned humanoids known for their tactical expertise. The fact that even they couldn't stop the dreadnought spoke volumes about the enemy they faced. Admiral Vorian, this is Commander Chen. Earth couldn't stand by while the dreadnought terrorized civilian populations. We're here to help. There was a pause, then Vorian's voice returned with something that might have been relief. Commander, I won't lie to you. We've lost 18 ships trying to stop this monster. Its weapons are unlike anything we've encountered, and its defenses adapt to everything we throw at it. Are you certain your single vessel can make a difference? Sarah looked around her bridge at the crew that had volunteered for this mission. They were the best Earth had to offer, men and women who had trained their entire lives for moments like this. Admiral, humans have a saying. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. We'll do our part. Marcus pulled up tactical displays showing the Alliance fleet disposition. 47 ships arranged in a defensive formation, their energy signatures showing depleted shields and weapons. They had been fighting for hours, slowly losing ground to an enemy that seemed unstoppable. Commander, Dr. Vasquez said quietly, long-range sensors are picking up the dreadnought. It's exactly as described in the intelligence reports, but seeing it in person, she shook her head. It's massive. How do we fight something that size? Sarah studied the sensor readings. The Crimson Dreadnought was a nightmare of engineering. Its hull covered in weapon ports and shield generators. But she had learned something important during her years in the Earth Defense Force. Every enemy had weaknesses, no matter how powerful they seemed. Torres, what do you see when you look at those sensor readings? Marcus studied the data for several minutes, his experienced eye picking out details that others might miss. It's big and heavily armed, but there's something interesting about its design. All those weapons create blind spots, areas where the ship can't bring its full firepower to bear. And the shield generators are clustered in specific locations. Exactly, Sarah said. Dr. Vasquez, can our quantum torpedoes exploit those blind spots? Elena ran quick calculations on her computer. Theoretically, yes. But we'd need to get closer than any Alliance ship has managed. And even then, we'd only get one shot before it adapts to our weapons. The Prometheus moved through space toward the battle, its sleek form cutting through the void like a knife. Earth's shipbuilders had learned from studying captured alien technology, but they had also added their own innovations. The ship was smaller than most Alliance vessels, but packed with experimental systems that pushed the boundaries of what was possible. Admiral Vorian's voice crackled over the communication system again. "Commander Chen, the Dreadnought has detected your approach. It's breaking off its attack on our fleet and moving to intercept you." Sarah felt her heart rate increase, but her voice remained steady. "Understood, Admiral. All Alliance ships, fall back to defensive positions. We're going to try something that's either brilliant or completely insane." The Crimson Dreadnought emerged from behind a gas giant, its massive form blotting out the stars. Its hull was scarred from previous battles, but the damage only made it look more menacing. Weapon ports along its sides began to glow with gathering energy. "Incoming transmission," reported Lieutenant James Park, the communications officer. "It's from the Dreadnought." "Put it through," Sarah ordered. The main screen flickered, and a face appeared that made several bridge crew members take involuntary steps backward. Overlord Thane was a member of the Korvaxi species, standing nearly 3 meters tall with 4 arms and eyes like burning coals. His species had been enslaved by the Dreadnought's builders, turned into living weapons for their conquests. "Small human ship," Thane's voice rumbled through the speakers. "You are brave to face me alone. But bravery without power is merely foolishness. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick." Sarah stepped forward, her voice calm despite the fear she felt. "Overlord Thane, I'm Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. We're here to stop your reign of terror." Thane's alien features twisted into what might have been amusement. "Earth, I have heard whispers of your species. Young, weak, barely capable of interstellar travel. What makes you think you can succeed where the mighty Alliance has failed?" "Because," Sakura said, "we think differently." The communication cut off, and space erupted in violence. The Dreadnought's main guns fired, sending streams of energy that could have vaporized a city. But the Prometheus wasn't where the beams struck. The Earth ship danced through space, its movements unpredictable and chaotic. "Evasive pattern Delta 7. Sarah called. "Don't let them get a lock on us." The Prometheus twisted and rolled, using its superior maneuverability to avoid the Dreadnought's massive weapons. But Sarah knew they couldn't run forever. The enemy ship was learning their patterns, adapting its targeting systems with each near miss. "Commander," Torres called out, "the Dreadnought is deploying fighter craft. Hundreds of them." Sarah watched as swarms of small ships poured from the massive vessel's launch bays. Each fighter was larger than anything in Earth's fleet, and they moved with the precision of a hive mind. "All right," she said, "time to show them what human creativity looks like. Vasquez, prepare the quantum disruption array. Torres, arm the experimental munitions. We're going to give them something they've never seen before." The first wave of fighters reached the Prometheus, their weapons firing in perfect coordination. But the Earth ship's shields held, and more importantly, they learned. The adaptive shielding that Dr. Vasquez had developed began to adjust its frequency, making it harder for the enemy weapons to penetrate. "Fascinating," Elena murmured as she watched her systems work. "Their weapons are powerful, but incredibly standardized. They haven't adapted to face defensive systems that can change in real time." Sarah saw the opportunity. "Torres, launch quantum torpedoes. Target the fighter formations, but don't use conventional warheads. I want them to see what our technology can do." The torpedoes streaked away from the Prometheus, each one containing a small quantum disruption device. When they detonated, they didn't explode in the traditional sense. Instead, they created small pockets of twisted spacetime that disrupted the enemy fighters' electronics and navigation systems. Dozens of fighters suddenly found themselves flying blind, their instruments scrambled by the quantum effects. They collided with each other or spun out of control, creating chaos in their previously perfect formations. "Impossible," came Thane's voice over the communication system. "What manner of weapons are these?" "The kind that adapt," Sarah replied. "The kind that think." But the dreadnought wasn't finished. Its main gun swiveled to track the Prometheus, and this time Thane didn't rely on his automated systems. He fired manually, leading his target based on intuition and experience. The energy beam caught the Prometheus along its port side, overloading 2 shield generators and causing explosions throughout the ship. Emergency lighting bathed the bridge in red as damage reports flooded in. "Hull breach on Deck 7, reported Lieutenant Park. "Engineering reports main power at 70%. Sarah gripped her command chair as the ship shuddered under another impact. They had hurt the enemy, but they were outgunned and outnumbered. The Alliance fleet was too far away to help, and more fighters were launching from the dreadnought. "Commander," Torres said grimly, "we're surrounded. The dreadnought is moving to finish us off." Sarah looked at the tactical display, seeing the massive enemy ship closing in for the kill. But instead of despair, she felt a familiar calm settle over her. This was the moment she had trained for her entire life. "All hands," she announced over the ship's communication system. "Prepare for emergency maneuvers. We're about to show the galaxy what humans can do when we're backed into a corner." The Crimson Dreadnought loomed before them, its weapons charging for what would surely be a fatal blow. But Sarah Chen had one more card to play, one last desperate gambit that would either save them all or ensure their deaths would be remembered throughout the galaxy. The fate of the Alliance fleet, and perhaps the galaxy itself, hung in the balance as the Prometheus prepared to face impossible odds with nothing but human ingenuity and determination. Earth's true power unleashed. The bridge of the Prometheus shook as another energy blast from the Crimson Dreadnought struck their failing shields. Commander Sarah Chen felt the weight of impossible odds pressing down on her, but she had learned something important during her years in the Earth Defense Force. Humans were never more dangerous than when they had nothing left to lose. "Torres," she called to her tactical officer, "remember the Alamo Protocol we discussed during training." Captain Marcus Torres looked up from his damage reports, his eyes widening as he understood what she was proposing. "Commander, that's completely theoretical. We've never tested it in combat conditions." "Dr. Vasquez," Sarah continued, ignoring Torres's concerns, "how long would you need to reconfigure our quantum disruption array?" Elena pushed her glasses up her nose, her fingers flying over her console as she ran calculations. "If we reroute power from life support and artificial gravity, maybe 4 minutes. But Sarah, the energy requirements are enormous. We'd have to drop our shields completely." The dreadnought was closing fast, its massive bulk blotting out the stars. Through the view screen, Sarah could see weapon ports along the enemy ship's hull beginning to glow with deadly energy. In less than 60 seconds, they would be within point-blank range. "Do it," Sarah ordered. "All hands, brace for emergency power transfer. We're going dark." Lieutenant James Park looked up from his communication station. "Commander, Admiral Vorian is hailing us. The Alliance fleet is requesting our status. Tell them to maintain distance and be ready to exploit any opportunity we create," Sarah replied. She opened a ship-wide channel. "Attention all crew, this is the commander. In 30 seconds, we're going to attempt something that has never been tried before. We're going to show these aliens why Earth produces the galaxy's most stubborn fighters." The lights on the bridge dimmed as Dr. Vasquez began rerouting power to her experimental systems. The Prometheus went dark, its shields failing and its weapons powering down. To outside observers, it looked like the Earth ship was surrendering or had suffered catastrophic system failure. Overlord Thane's voice boomed across the communication system, filled with satisfaction. "So the brave humans finally understand their place. Prepare to be boarded. Your technology will serve the dreadnought well." Sarah smiled grimly. "Not quite, Overlord. Torres, as soon as Vasquez gives the signal, execute maneuver Broken Arrow. Full power to engines. maximum acceleration toward their primary weapon array. "Commander," Torres said, "that's a suicide run. Even if our quantum array works, we'll be too close to the dreadnought to survive the effects." "Maybe," Sarah admitted, "but sometimes you have to risk everything to save everything." Dr. Vasquez looked up from her console, sweat beading on her forehead despite the cooling temperatures, as life support systems operated on minimal power. "Quantum disruption array ready. But I need to warn you, when this activates, it's going to create a space-time distortion field that affects everything within a 5-kilometer radius." The Crimson Dreadnought continued its approach, confident in its victory. Boarding pods began launching from its hull, carrying teams of alien soldiers ready to capture the seemingly helpless Earth ship. But they were about to learn that humans were never more dangerous than when they appeared defeated. "Now," Sarah commanded. The Prometheus erupted back to life, every system surging to maximum power simultaneously. The ship shot forward like a bullet, accelerating at rates that would have crushed an unprotected human crew. But Earth's artificial gravity technology kept them alive as they raced toward their massive enemy. "Quantum array activating," Dr. Vasquez announced. 30 seconds to full disruption." The Dreadnought's crew reacted with shock to the Earth ship's sudden resurrection. Weapon systems that had been preparing to fire on a stationary target now struggled to track a ship moving at incredible speed. Overlord Thane's voice roared across the communication channels, ordering his gunners to destroy the approaching vessel. But the Prometheus had one more surprise. As it closed the distance to the Dreadnought, its hull began to separate into multiple sections. What had appeared to be a single ship revealed itself to be 5 smaller vessels flying in perfect formation, their combined mass creating the illusion of a larger ship. "Separation complete," Torres reported. "All Phoenix Squadron vessels are operational and moving to attack positions." Sarah's gambit was revealed. The Prometheus wasn't just one experimental ship, it was 5 ships working together, each equipped with specialized systems designed to work in perfect coordination. It was a concept that had never been attempted on this scale, requiring a level of trust and coordination that most alien species couldn't achieve. "Phoenix 2 and 3, target their shield generators," Sarah commanded. "Phoenix 4 and 5, focus on their engine systems. Phoenix 1 will deliver the quantum disruption payload directly to their main reactor." The 5 Earth ships danced through space around the massive Dreadnought, their movements coordinated with inhuman precision. The enemy's weapons, designed to engage large capital ships at long range, struggled to track multiple small targets moving in unpredictable patterns. Admiral Vorian's voice came through the communication system, filled with amazement. "Commander Chen, what are we seeing? Your ship has multiplied itself." "Not multiplied," Sarah replied as her section of the Prometheus dove toward the Dreadnought's primary weapon array. "We just stopped pretending to be something we're not. Earth doesn't build massive ships to intimidate our enemies. We build smart ships to outwit them." The quantum disruption array reached full power, and Dr. Vasquez's section of the Prometheus unleashed humanity's most advanced weapon. The device created a bubble of twisted space-time that expanded outward from the ship, engulfing a large portion of the Dreadnought's hull. Inside the disruption field, the laws of physics became negotiable. The exotic matter that powered the Dreadnought's weapons began to destabilize, and the alien ship's adaptive systems found themselves trying to adapt to conditions that didn't follow consistent rules. "Direct hit on their primary shield generator," reported Torres as his section of the Prometheus fired its quantum torpedoes. "Their defensive systems are fluctuating." The other sections of the Phoenix Squadron pressed their attacks, each one exploiting weaknesses that the Dreadnought's massive size made inevitable. The alien ship was designed to fight enemies that would engage it at long range with conventional tactics. It had no defense against 5 small ships working in perfect coordination, each one attacking from a different angle with weapons that broke the established rules of warfare. Overlord Thane's voice filled the communication channels, no longer confident but desperate. "All fighters, converge on the human ships. Destroy them at any cost." The remaining enemy fighters swarmed toward the Phoenix Squadron, their weapons firing in coordinated volleys. But the Earth ships had been designed with this possibility in mind. They moved like a school of fish, each ship's movement complementing the others in a pattern that seemed almost alive. "This is how humans fight," Sarah said over an open channel that she knew the dreadnought would intercept. "We don't rely on overwhelming force or technological superiority. We rely on each other." Dr. Vasquez's section of the Prometheus had positioned itself near the dreadnought's main reactor, the quantum disruption field causing increasing instability in the alien ship's power systems. "Sarah, the disruption is working, but their reactor is beginning to cascade. If it reaches critical mass, the explosion will destroy everything within 50 kilometers. Sarah made a decision that would haunt her for the rest of her life. All Phoenix Squadron vessels, maximum acceleration away from the dreadnought. "We've done what we came to do." But Taurus's voice cut through the communication channel. "Negative, Commander. My ship's engines were damaged in the last attack run. I can't achieve escape velocity." The tactical situation became clear in an instant. The dreadnought's reactor would explode in less than 2 minutes. 4 of the Phoenix Squadron ships could escape, but Taurus and his crew would be trapped in the blast radius. "Marcus," Sarah said quietly, "you know there has to be another way." Taurus's voice was calm, the tone of a man who had already accepted his fate. "Commander, this is what we trained for. Tell my family that we stopped the monster." But Dr. Vasquez had been working frantically at her console, running calculations that would have taken a normal computer hours to complete. "Wait," she called out. "I have an idea. If we can synchronize all 5 quantum disruption arrays, we might be able to create a stable wormhole. It would require perfect timing, but we could extract Taurus's ship through folded space." It was impossible. The coordination required would need split-second timing across 5 separate ships, with no margin for error. One mistake would either fail to save Taurus or destroy all 5 ships in a quantum implosion. "Do it," Sarah ordered without hesitation. The Phoenix Squadron began the most complex maneuver in the history of space combat. 5 ships, each carrying experimental technology that barely functioned under normal conditions, attempted to create a stable wormhole while enemy fighters continued their attacks and a massive alien reactor counted down to catastrophic explosion. Admiral Vorian watched from the Alliance fleet as the impossible unfolded before his eyes. The 5 Earth ships moved in perfect synchronization, their quantum arrays working together to tear a hole in space itself. Taurus's damaged ship disappeared into the wormhole just as the Crimson Dreadnought's reactor reached critical mass. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems. The massive alien ship that had terrorized the galaxy for months vanished in a ball of nuclear fire that briefly outshone the local sun. But when the energy dissipated, all 5 sections of the Phoenix Squadron were intact, safely beyond the blast radius. Overlord Thane's final transmission reached the Alliance fleet as his ship died around him. Impossible. How did they coordinate such precision? What manner of species fights with such unity? Sarah Chen's voice answered him across the void. "The kind that remembers we're stronger together than apart." In the aftermath of the battle, Admiral Vorian requested permission to come aboard the reunited Prometheus. The Alliance commander studied the humans with new respect, his blue skin marked with the traditional scars of a veteran warrior. "Commander Chen," he said formally, "the Alliance Council will want to know how one ship accomplished what our entire fleet could not." Sarah looked around her bridge at the crew that had just pulled off the impossible. "We didn't accomplish anything alone, Admiral. We had help from 47 Alliance ships that kept the dreadnought distracted while we set up our attack." Vorian's expression showed surprise at her diplomatic answer, but Torres stepped forward with a grin. "What the commander is too modest to say is that humans have been fighting impossible odds since we first climbed down from the trees. We've learned that the bigger they are, the more creative you have to be to bring them down." Dr. Vasquez was already analyzing the quantum data from their disruption arrays, her mind racing with the implications of what they had achieved. "Admiral, The technology we use today opens up possibilities we've never considered. Coordinated quantum manipulation, space-time engineering, tactical wormhole deployment. This was just the beginning. As the Alliance fleet began rescue operations for the survivors of the Dreadnought's crew, Sarah Chen realized that Earth had just announced itself to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. They were no longer the young species hiding on the edge of civilized space. They were a power to be reckoned with, and more importantly, they were a species that other civilizations could trust to fight beside them against impossible odds. Admiral Vorian clasped Sarah's hand in the traditional Alliance gesture of respect between warriors. Commander, the galaxy has learned something important today. Humans may be young, and you may be few in number, but you fight with the heart of true warriors. The Alliance would be honored to call Earth an ally. Sarah smiled, looking out at the stars that suddenly seemed a little less hostile. Admiral, something tells me this galaxy is about to become a very different place. The Phoenix Squadron had won more than just a battle. They had won the respect of an entire galaxy and opened the door for humanity to take its place among the stars as a force for courage, innovation, and hope in the face of impossible odds.